And I've got some guests here now. We're going to talk about those early days of the puppet shows, programs like Four Feather Falls, and a little reunion for you here. So, in no particular order, I'm going to bring up all of our guests. If you're ready, folks, we've got David Graham, Denise Bryer, David Elliott, and Mr. Nicholas Parsons. Right, David, well done. Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us today. There you go. Grab a seat anywhere you like, along there. Do you want to stay on the nearest ones to me? I'll be at this end. Do you want to move down one? Move down one. There we go. We'll all stay together for the benefit of the camera. Microphone. Ready? Your microphone. Little technical problem there. There we go. Right.
They've all got their cameras.
Yes, there's lots of cameras. Yes. Well, it's so nice to see you all here. And we've just had that little clip, well, the episode. I think we showed the whole episode in the end. Can you remember any of those things? It's so long ago.
Yes. Vividly.
Yes, I can remember them. Absolutely.
Let's go down the line then and say, what were your jobs on that particular show, David? What was your... You started with lip sync operating.
Lip sync operating and editing. And then I took over from Gerry directing.
Yeah.
And that was... that little episode there was one of mine.
Lovely.
I can't remember it. I mean, it was going back 55 years ago.
It's a long time. Denise?
I remember all of it very clearly, yes. Yeah, of course.
Can you remember how many of the characters can you remember?
What, in which ones?
Well, in Four Feather Falls.
In Four Feather Falls, I played the little boy.
Yeah.
I played the old woman, you know, the one talk like that, and the little Indian boy. I think they were in his... Oh, I played the dog. Yeah, I usually play a dog. Or a cat.
And David?
Well, I played Gramps.
Yeah.
And either Fernando or Pedro, one of the Mexican bandits with dear old Ken Connor.
Wonderful.
And I may have done various other, characters that came in episodes. Yeah.
And Nicholas?
Well, I played Tex Tucker.
Yes, sirree.
With the magic guns, and I used to blow up, and I used to play them, I used to talk to my little doggy, and I was on my horse. And would you like to know how I got the job?
Yes.
It's a lovely story, actually, because my wife then, she was my wife then, and she's still my best friend. But she'd done a lot with Gerry Anderson and Twizzle and other things. And Gerry had come with this new program, which is called Four Feather Falls, to our house with a script to talk to Denise and decide which characters or voices she could supply for some of the characters.
Yeah.
And so she started doing, and she said, Gerry said to me, would you mind reading for us so she can do the other characters? So I read, and of course when I picked it up, I'm known now as a presenter, but I'm really an actor. I started as a mimic, and so I picked it up, and I naturally, when I heard the thing, it was Tex Tucker, I started doing it like that. Yeah. And I'm playing it like that, and talking like that, and she giving her the cues, and she was coming back and creating voices for him. And Gerry said at the end, he said, well, we've got some lovely voices for Denise, but he said, I also think we've got our Tex Tucker. And I didn't realise I'd unconsciously done an audition.
You weren't doing it deliberately then?
No,
It was just
I was just doing it to help Gerry and to help Denise, so she had a comeback in the character she was playing, and I wasn't reading it like some, ineffectual amateur.
And you enjoyed yourself?
Oh, God, we had a wonderful time. We used to get in the car and go out there, and Gerry was lovely to work with. And we used to sit around the table with Ken Connor and David here. And they recorded all the voices first. We didn't know what the hell the script was about at all. I mean, what the animation was about.
Yeah.
So they recorded the voices, and we sat round the table and recorded all the voices.
But did they show you pictures of your characters so that you knew who you were
Oh,
playing?
yeah, I think they did. Yeah, so we always saw them beforehand. But the Gramps, I based the voice of Gramps. There was a famous Western actor who was in every Western in Hollywood called Walter Brennan.
Yes.
You know, he talked like that. And I thought he would be perfect for it. He was in he always played himself, of course. And then...
Yeah, Walter Brennan, he played like that.
Yeah, he talked like that, yeah. And
There's
then
a lot of
Ken,
those old cowboy actors like Slim Pickens.
yeah, and
all
Ken
those.
Connon and I did the Two Bandits, which was a sort of double act. They always lost or shot.
Did the horse talk as well? I forgot.
It did, and sadly, of course,
Who did the horse then?
that was Ken Connon, wasn't
Ken,
it?
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, was it Ken? Oh, I forgot that it
I
was
know
Ken.
you did.
The
the
posh
dog.
English horse,
did the
which was an
dog.
interesting choice.
You did everything.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
So, Nicholas, when, knowing Gerry as a little bit as I did, I just wonder whether when he cast you then, he thought he was getting a buy one, get one free.
I don't think I get that good. Oh, yes,
Yes,
buy
bug off,
one,
yes.
get one free. No, he did pay me.
Yeah, it's good. Yes.
Not a lot, but he
Not a
paid.
lot, but we paid. And
I also remember you two doing the blue cars. I saw that.
That was fun. That was for Gerry too.
yeah.
We played Martians.
Was that around the same time? Before or after?
Before, wasn't it?
Before.
I had got, I made some commercials for Blue Cross. I had a production company then. And I went up and met the boss, which, James Fox, his name was. He's actually the uncle of the film star.
Oh, I see. Fox family, the dynasty.
Fox family. And he said, we want some more. And I said, well, 3 more commercials. And I went up there and I did 3 ideas for him because, you know, you could do it in those days. You didn't have to send in concepts and so forth. And I got up and actually acted out the 3 ideas. And 2 of them are fairly conventional. And one was entirely offbeat and unusual, with the idea of people in France, like a French film and an Italian film, and also a Martian film with subtitles all about blue cars. And I waited at the end, and he said, well, there's only one for me. And I thought he would say, well, the more conventional one. And he said, that last one, with the subtitles and the films. Oh, that's a brilliant idea.
Oh, there we go.
And
Thank you,
that's
Parker.
That's a good idea as well. And so I got the job, and he said, all we've got, and remember the figure, is £2,800. It's a bit more than it is
Fortune.
today.
For the whole commercial. Yeah.
For the commercial and an advertising film, and also a film, which this wonderful man edited here. And so I thought, what do I do? And I needed a studio, I needed a director. So I went to Gerry. I said, Gerry, I've got this commission. There's not much money. 3 commercials, advertising film and so forth, £2,800. And Gerry said to me, I'll tell you what, we'll split it and I'll supply all the technical backup. And he told me later, I don't know, only his son can confirm this, that he was actually in between, and it was touch and go to some extent. Maybe you can confirm this.
Yeah, yes.
It was touch and go, because they didn't want another series of Four Feather Falls, and he was trying to sell Supercar at the time.
Yeah.
And he was in between with no income coming in. And suddenly this modest amount of money saved the day for them.
Wonderful.
And so in a way, without realizing it, though he worked for a pittance, and so did I, and of course my darling wife, as she was at the time, she worked for nothing. And we made these commercials, and they won the Grand Prix award as the best commercials of 1967.
I seem to remember hearing that you went to an awards do for that, didn't you?
Oh yes, it was wonderful, because an organisation called Television Mail had just started, and I got to know one of the directors called Derek Baker, and he said, are you coming to the award ceremony? Now, I hadn't made commercials before. I was quite modest about it. And I said, well, they've been successful. I didn't think we'd go, you know, it's for the advertising world and people like that. And he said, well, I think you should come. I think you should come. Well, I thought, well, they want us to go. Maybe we're going to get a mention or something. So I phoned up Gerry. I said, Gerry, they're terribly keen for us to go to the banquet when they're going to announce the awards for the commercials. So he said, well, all right, we'll take a table. And we took a table, Paul Ken Fox, managing director of Blue Cars, yeah? And he and his wife were there, I and Denise, Gerry and his wife Sylvia at the time. And they started doing the awards, and in our category, which was consumer research, we got 2 mentions, and it got well received. And then it came to the Grand Prix, and they overdid it then. And they said, well, this is how it was. And this was the one in 10th place, 9th place, and it worked it out. And we'd already seen a lot, and we thought, mentally was eliminated. What's left? What's left that was good? Oh, there was the SO1. I said, well, what's left? And then he came, it's the long one, and he said, and now we come to the Grand Prix Award. And I have to tell you, we did send our judges back to reconsider this, because they actually didn't want us to win. Because we didn't have an advertising agency. We'd come straight in.
You didn't have a track record in the industry.
No. And they had decided that this was the best commercial, and it went up on the screen. And I can tell you, all these advertising people were there, and it got sort of... And I remember Denise was so embarrassed, because she did a lot of voiceovers for these people who were there, her friends. She just slid under the table like that.
And she hadn't been reading.
And Gerry, I looked at Gerry, and his jaw was like that. And Ken Fox, who put up the money, the blue card, he was going... And neither of us got up. We were sharing the award, and eventually they said, would the Gerry Anderson and Nicholas Parsons please come up to accept the award? And again we walked up to and we got this award, and it was wonderful. But in a way it was a kiss of death, because we had done, it was summed up by a lovely Canadian chap who you worked for a great deal. What was his name, do you remember?
No.
And he came up to you later, he'd had quite a few drinks. And you remember his actual words. He said, "You naughty, naughty girl. We spent a lifetime in the industry, and you come along with no track record at all and take the big prize away from us."
I don't think I did any commercials for years.
Yes, so you'd expect the jobs to come flooding in after that.
Yes, and I know Gerry advertised to say that he could make commercials for people.
Yeah.
Nobody ever asked me to write one.
But somebody's knows how to joint badly by the sound of it.
It's a very interesting thing. We did the wrong thing. I mean, they were good. They gave us credit in the category in which our commercials were.
Yeah.
But when it came to the Grand Prix, no, that was a step too far.
I think Clive James screened one of that commercial in
I've still
the
got a
80s.
copy
That's the
of it.
first time I saw it. I don't know if anybody else saw it on one of
The
Clive
Martian
James'
one
shows.
was the one that won the Grand Prix
Yeah.
award. And I've still got a copy of it. And it's in the archives, the film archives of the National Film Archives.
Those early days.
You must have edited those.
I did, yes, yes.
Did them very well.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, very well. It's a great skill, editing. People don't realise, they think you film it and there it is.
Yeah. David, you were given chances to move up grades then, particularly within this show, you were saying.
Yes, as I say, I started off with lip syncing.
We heard on the previous panel that they had to create a special union post for lip syncing.
Yes. But when I was there, up until the end of Thank you very much. Yes. It was 50-odd years ago, Yes, I mean, we didn't have any union problems, but I believe after that, especially the electrician union, the puppeteers would be plugging and unplugging the puppets, the electric wires.
It's demarcation,
And, we've got to, they wanted to do that. So they said, well, you have to climb up the stairs all the time, So I said, we'll let you do it,
The voice artist, you would come in and do so many episodes in a single day, I guess. David, you were there all the time with Gerry. Can you sort of give us an idea of what the studio was like in those days?
Yes, it was crowded with people, all the technicians on the floor, camera crew.
You must have seen the crew expand, I guess, across the years.
Yeah.
What was it like in those early ones, though?
What was it like? Very busy.
What were the premises, for example?
Well, the old studios on the Slough Trading Estate, which is now a tyre company.
Yeah.
But it was a house in Maidenhead. Originally,
Originally,
yeah.
yes.
When I first started.
Near Bray, I think. No, it wasn't Bray.
Maidenhead, I
Bolter's
think.
Lock. Bolter's Lock.
Yeah.
Islet
Thank you.
Park, yeah. I don't know who that is that keeps shouting down there.
Prompt.
I think I know, yes.
They know all about these and more fun.
Of course they do, and they're going to grill you in a minute
Yes.
with a few more difficult questions.
But no, I mean, when I first started editing Twizzle, I was at a studio in Walton-on-Thames, I think.
Right.
An old cinema that had
Yeah.
been converted into a studio, which was where I met Brian Johnson and Derek Meddings.
And Denise Bryer.
And Denise, yes. All of those, you know, I was just editing on my own. I didn't have any assistants.
Yeah.
And I'd never edited before. I was a sound editor, you know, worked on feature films and everything. But, yeah, I mean, I was working all day. I was supposed to cut one film a day, but I couldn't, you know.
No, that's a bit of a tall order.
Yeah. I mean, I could do it now, but I couldn't then, you know, because you learn as you go along,
Yeah.
don't you?
It's all taped now, isn't it?
Yes, it's, yeah, well, it's
Not even
really
tape anymore.
It-
Tape's
it's,
going out now.
just,
It's all solid state, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, now back to the recording sessions. What were they like as you all gathered together? This was a regular thing. You'd meet the same cast. You know, did you have a sort of set routine for those things?
Yeah, we'd all laugh a lot. Come and Di, you say something. What was it like? We're waiting for you now.
Well, it was just a cosy, friendly, and we all had fun. We loved doing all these different voices, and Gerry was so kind and nice to work for. And we usually worked in quite small studios, really quite small. And it was just lovely to be there. We all enjoyed it very much.
Well, we were all good friends, weren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, Ken was a very good friend of the family, and we knew him well. And we would go down there in the car and park, and the two of us, and there was Ken, and there was David, and we just sit round and have a good laugh and do the scripts.
Can you ever remember going in to visit the puppet studio? Did you ever go and pop in and watch what they were doing?
Sometimes I used to go down to the studio.
What can you remember of that?
Well, the first studio was in, not the big studio, it was a small studio, AP Films in those days. It was sort of a beginning of the technical. I mean, from those days, from Four Feather Falls days to, say, Thunderbirds, it was a tremendous leap in
Period of
sophistication and technique. And I'm not sure if they had if the puppets had relays in the heads, where they did for Thunderbirds. I don't know if they were.
Yes, they had puppets, the gubbins in the head for the fall.
That's amazing. I mean, you know, that's.
But I was understood that Four Feather Falls was a breakthrough in the realm of puppetry. Because it was the first time that they had the sync, the
lip sync.
yes.
Electronic lip sync, they called it.
Yeah. And that was a breakthrough. So Gerry created this wonderful, innovative series with the huge advance in puppetry.
He was always interested in new technology. He would always try things out, yes.
Yeah.
And another thing was that I think we used to get the scripts beforehand and just did them as a play. And of course they post-sync them afterwards. So we were a team, like doing a little drama, you know, as actors, which always helps.
Now, there's nothing more useless in a recording studio, an audio recording studio, than a camera, and I've been that camera on a radio studio, working with a guy called Dirk Maggs, who makes radio.
Oh yeah, I know Dirk Maggs.
Some of the actors that I've spoken to there talked about in the old days of radio that you had flimsy paper. There was a special paper that didn't rustle so badly that they can't even get nowadays. They could turn the pages silently.
No, actually, it was more than that. You had to learn
A technique.
and you did a lot of radio because you was in the drama rep for many
So
years.
was I.
And you had a technique, as you came to the bottom line, of turning the page over so that it didn't rustle. Some people had a much better technique. They would disengage all the pages. So when that page came to the bottom, they'd slip it off and just drop it on the floor.
Yeah, that's right.
What was your technique when you were doing radio?
I rustled a lot.
Well, you rustled a lot in Four Feather Falls.
Rustled a lot everywhere I got rather carried away and forgot. Anyway, it was okay in the end.
I've
You
seen-
edited it all out.
because I used to have to edit the tapes.
And if I wasn't rustling the paper, I had bangles that I rustled. It was a nightmare, really.
So, David, you'd be preparing all the audio tapes that would then be played back in the studio.
Yes. I used to edit out the mistakes and all the rustles and
When they played
bangles.
when they played it back in the studio, was it like scene by scene? Did it have like a cue beat? at the
no,
start of
it
each
was just.
scene,
It
or-
might be just a couple of lines. If you're doing a close-up, then you know. You
So it
didn't
wasn't
waste,
like the complete episode.
No,
sound,
you didn't
it was
waste
just
film
bits.
like they do on big pictures. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you'd shoot the same thing several times from different angles and
Yeah.
all that. But we'd just do a close-up and just pick out that sentence. You know.
Because I remember now, I did let it drop that side.
Yeah.
Because I rustled so much, they said, look, and so I had, and it was terrible because once I got one page missing and it was dreadful. I had to, on radio.
Try and find it on the floor. Yeah. I've seen people have to do a retake and they have to pick their pages
They
up.
were live in those days, those broadcasts.
Yeah, I've seen people do very elaborate kind of turn away from microphones.
That's right.
That's it, yes.
Okay, well, we're going to turn it over to the our folks out in the audience here, who hopefully are going to be brave enough to put their hands up. Now, what I didn't do on the last session, for those that were here, was point out that we do have some roving microphones. So if you wouldn't mind, I spotted you, if you just wait for the microphone to get to you before you say anything, otherwise we can't hear your pearls of wisdom on the camera. So there's the microphone. Can you see, guy? Can you put your hand up again? There you go. Right, quickly.
I have one question to David Grimm. That's the one over there.
Okay.
Now, regarding the new series for Thunderbirds, how did the recording session go, and how is Teresa Gallagher, whom you've met in the beginning?
Yes, well, I think they're going pretty well. I mean, I haven't seen any of the finished product, and the proof of the pudding will be in the eating, but Teresa Gallagher I met at the original get-together when we first started the series, but all my stuff is with Rosamund Pike, who is now doing Lady Penelope, and she's lovely to work with. So, but all will be revealed in 2015 when the series starts.
What series is this, Tim?
It's a second series of Thunderbirds, which they're making in New Zealand on computer graphics, not with puppets.
It's
Why
basically a revival.
Well, because Peter Jackson is the
brilliant.
big man, and he's funding it, you know, with
He's a
ITV.
massive fan of
He's a huge
Gerry's
fan
work,
of Thunderbirds, thank
Wonderful,
goodness.
wonderful.
So they're making it out there. We've seen some of the.
Have you flown out to record?
No, we record in Soho Square with Dave Peacock Studios. So,
Rosamund Pike, that's the one who's married to the other chap on the radio, isn't it, who does so much?
well, she's just been in Hollywood. She's sort of
Yes.
very
Done all sorts of
flavour of the
things, yeah.
month at the moment.
Yes, yeah.
But she's charming
Done a
to
Bond
work.
and everything,
She's
isn't
lovely
she?
to work with, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the
Well,
story.
we're going to have a Thunderbirds panel at a later time, so
Yes,
we'll talk some
okay.
more about that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions about Fall for the Fools or the early days of the puppet stuff? Gentleman over here. There we go, keep your arm up, sir. Here we go.
General question for you all. Are you at all surprised that these are still being shown, and do you have any sense of pride about that?
Who goes first?
We'll start this in. Are you amazed they're still being shown? And is
I
there
am
a sense
indeed,
of,
yes.
sense
yes.
of pride?
I don't know really.
Oh, go on, say
You know,
it,
it
Dave.
was-
Say it,
it
you're
was a
among
job.
friends.
I mean, you never realised in those days what it was going to become. You know, it's a big cult thing that all these puppet films have become. You just didn't know. I mean, it was just a job, you know, an interesting job and a job which you enjoyed, you know, because the hours we had to work, you know, without pay, no overtime, you know, you just got a flat salary per week, which wasn't much. But you were doing it to help build the company up. And, well, we all took a pride, obviously, in our work.
I think that comes across, and that's why it holds up so well now.
Yeah.
It's obvious that there was a team that were really
Yes.
probably having a lot of fun as well as all the hard work.
It was all fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you didn't laugh, my God, you'd cry. Especially at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know.
Nicholas, pride?
No, it's joy. But I do think, from a professional point of view, it needs the people behind it to keep reminding the public that they exist. And so it builds up a loyal following.
Yes.
And I have a perfect example of this. I was in a program with a comedian called Arthur Haynes for 10 years. And we were in the 60s the top comedy show on independent television, while Hancock was a comedy show on BBC. And the people behind the Hancock show kept showing these shows of his again and again. And so they're remembered. Now, nobody bothered. I have been trying in the last few years to promote these wonderful shows I did with Arthur Haynes, because the comedy, all written by Johnny Spate, is utterly timeless.
And have they kept them all?
Yes, we've got them all. We have the rights to them now. And we did they let us, BBC did a one-off interview where Paul Merton interviewed me and we showed clips. But I would like to revive the best of, and we're still trying. But the thing is, the public have, to a great extent, forgotten about them.
Yeah.
And so, though they're not dated, they're not in the public conscience.
You had to see them in context, but somebody like Paul Merton, he loves silent movies, for instance.
Yeah.
He understands it, and he's also got the ability to put his enthusiasm across.
Yeah.
It sort of needs a champion.
Absolutely.
And then nowadays, unfortunately, to get the sale, it probably has to be a celebrity champion to tell the audience why they should appreciate these
So
things.
you've got to give credit to Gerry Anderson and his team and all the other people like Dave here and others who kept reminding people of these wonderful programs he'd made.
But I think it's the fans who've done it. It's all of you.
Yes, darling, but the point I'm making is they build up the fan base by keep reminding them of this wonderful material.
Yeah. And I think there does need to be someone to explain to... I mean, everyone here loves the shows, but I think to the more general public, it does need someone to sort of lay the groundwork to explain the background and put it in context. Because, I mean, there are people, and I've heard it out there, people saying, oh, I don't want to watch that, it's black and white.
Oh, yeah. That is disappearing to some extent now.
I don't understand that, but, you know, that's the way some
there
people
should
think.
be more films in black and white.
Well, yeah. David, did you have a sense of pride in all those past shows?
Absolutely. And I mean, I was so lucky. The biggest piece of luck, one of the biggest pieces of luck I had in my career was meeting Gerry on a TV film. It was a terrible series called Martin Kane. It was, you know, it was a load of old cobblers, and I was playing a villain. and Gerry came up to me and said, David, this is not a very good script. Would you just run like hell all over the lot? And it was in Elstree. That's what I did. And I just got talking to him in between takes.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm hoping to go into production of children's programs. And I said, well, I'm not bad at doing accents. And that was the whole start. If I hadn't have been on that film, I might have not have done 5 series.
Never turn a job down, eh?
No, absolutely. And then, of course, Four Feather Falls was the first, and I thought it was going to be my only one.
Yeah.
Then I went on to do 5 series, and he kept the faith with me, and it ended up with Thunderbirds. And I think the whole series, the series have been a generational thing, because parents watch it, even grandparents, and they pass it on, their enthusiasm and love for the series, to their children and grandchildren. And that's this word of mouth.
I'm sure there's lots of people here can relate to that. You've probably shown it to younger family members. I'm sure there's someone out there that can tell us about that. Denise, do you have a sense of pride about those early days?
Delight, actually, that people remember the characters, and very, very pleased and touched that people liked the characters we played. So,
Okay, any more questions, please? I think you were just behind that gentleman. Liam, if you go to the back. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me? Hi, I'm totally blind, but one of the things I find really interesting about TV back then and TV now, nowadays I have to have audio description. With something like Four Feather Falls, I didn't need it because there was so much dialogue that I could follow and enjoy the whole show. And well done for your text, Nick. I mean, Nicholas, I think your Tex Tucker is brilliant.
Excellent. That's very nice.
Thank you.
This gentleman said that he didn't even need the closed captions. and because he's blind, and he said he didn't need closed captions. The characters
Oh, I see.
were very
I
descriptive. And
understand.
Yeah.
That's a
He's a-
great compliment. Thank you very much indeed.
yeah, that's
Yes.
very nice. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, and the gentleman just in front of him.
Hi, this is for the two Davids, really. A sense of pride I don't take it extended to Crossroads to Crime. I've just realised that the part of the voice of Parker knows what the F word is on the commentary of the network release.
It wasn't a masterpiece, if I may put it mildly.
Have you got a way of telling that story? You went to see Crossroads to Crime screened at cinema, I believe.
Yes, in Kilburn, it was a second feature.
Yes.
And as I got up to leave, someone behind me said, "What an awful film." And I sort of crept.
Get your hat down low.
It wasn't very good. To say it was low budget is putting it mildly. It was zero budget. You know, but
Any more questions? Anyone over here? Oh, there we go.
Question for Nicholas. Were you at all offended to learn that somebody else had been brought in to provide Tex Tucker's singing voice?
Tell us it isn't true.
No, I was flattered. No,
Holiday was great.
I mean, my singing voice was not up to, what's his name?
David Holliday.
David Holliday. No, not David Holliday.
No.
Michael
Holiday. I beg your
Michael
pardon.
Holiday.
Very
I know my singing voice is not up there. They never actually mentioned it to me. It was just taken for granted that get Mike Holiday to do it. But he was well known then. He was,
he was
and
a
his
star.
voice was perfect, wasn't
Perfect,
it? Yes,
absolutely perfect.
And some people thought it was me. Well, that was very, very flattering. I was.
It's nice, yeah. I thought it was Bing Crosby.
No, I wasn't at all offended or upset at all. Flattered.
Very nice. Okay, anybody else? Right at the back there? Okay. This might be the last one. Make it a good one. No pressure.
I wondered why Michael Holiday took his own life when he was 34.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, I never knew him personally. Did you know him at all, David?
No.
He was
Well, does
obviously very
anybody commit
disturbed to
suicide?
do
It's very
something like
sad.
that.
Did he come into the studio to record?
No, I don't think I
No,
ever
it was
met him.
recorded at Elstree.
It was.
He prob-
And he was a wonderful man.
Done that song, did he? And I mean, when did he? Was it shortly afterwards? When he?
No, it was nothing to do with
Yes,
Four Feather Falls.
I forgot that he committed suicide.
And so did
Terrible.
I.
Very sad.
And we've got nothing to do with Four Feather Falls.
I think we've basically agreed that nobody here is culpable. Yeah.
But it
Now,
was
we'll
a-
have one more question. Anybody else got
Can we say, it was a lovely, catchy tune, wasn't
here?
it?
Down there, sorry, there. I didn't see you there. Right down the front here. Sorry, I was looking the wrong way.
This is a question for Nicholas. Was the Tex Tucker puppet based on your good self? Because there are similarities. I don't mean that in a rude way.
I think that's a very good question.
Jimmy Stewart.
No, the voice wasn't.
The look
Looking
of the
like
puppet.
you.
The actual puppet. Does it look a bit like me? What do you think?
Well,
Yeah.
well, no, I think.
Denise says it was based on James
No,
Stewart.
the voice was. That's what she said.
Oh, I see.
The voice.
Oh, I see.
No, James Stewart. No. James Stewart talked very much more like that, didn't he?
Very good.
Because
wonderful
this is
actor.
how I started as an impersonator. I used to do James
Yeah.
Stewart, you know, Mr.
Very
Smith.
good. I like that.
I think I'm based in much more on a southern character like that, and I just look at composition of a number of westerns I'd seen.
Well, westerns were a very big thing at the time.
They were
Maybe
the
they
big-
did they base the puppet's walk on yours, perhaps?
No, the puppet had been created, and if I looked anything like it, I can't believe I look like that very puppet.
There's just,
He's not even.
there's no
offence
no
No strings.
no strings.
The contract has no strings attached
It's a
either.
lovely,
Very
it's a
good.
lovely question. Thank you so much for that.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You
Now,
will certainly
sadly,
never
we're going to have
win,
to wrap
will
this
you?
one up now. We will show a little clip of the end titles in a moment. But for now, if you'd like to thank our guests, thank you very much. would like to come follow me off the stage, and they're going to run the clip.
I'm going to run the clip, right.